Greetings and welcome to Calm, Clear Conversations. I'm Christopher Johnson with Calm, Clear Communications, and with me today is Danielle Harris. All right, let me do that. Let me treat that better. With me today is none other than Danielle Harris. Danielle Harris is a speaker. She is a marketer. She is someone that you should know and connect with. Hi, Danielle.
Hello. I'd have to agree with all of those things.
All of those things?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
I am a great person to know.
You are. You are. And today's topic, is it all connected? Should it be connected? What do we mean when we say, all right, is it connected? I
That's a
have
great
some
question.
thoughts, but let's just start there. Is it all connected? And while you ponder the initial answer to that question, I would invite those that are watching, whether live or on replay, to indicate where you're watching from. And hey, if you are team live or team replay, and what does being connected or what is it all connected?
Mm. All right.
All right,
So
we're ready for the answer.
the answer, oh, well, I thought we were just going to do this very like, who knows the answer? Um, but okay, so like in the grandest sense, obviously everything is connected. You're just like, oh, okay, yes. In a big circle of life, yes, everything's connected. So, but in the work that I do, a lot of times when people are coming up with marketing and they're just like, I want to talk about personal things and I want to talk about what I offer and I want to talk about this other thing, but I don't see how it all connects. And I really work hard to tell them to think about like, no, I'm pretty sure that you can make it all connect in some type of way. And the example that I'm going to be telling my clients soon is just recently I was walking through Target and I was looking at all of the back to school stuff that's coming up. So all the crayons, all the stationery, and I was just like, oh, I just really like the back to school. So a lot of times people do content and they're just like, oh, I'm out on my day doing errands, running around stuff, and they're just like, oh, that's what I'm putting out there. How does that connect though back to like what I do on a greater scale? It's like, well, if you wanted to sit and pause for a second, you can think about how the back to school time brings about this energy of renewal and starting something new, and that it's a good time to be reflective and start and thinking about like what are some new things that I can do in my business, and here are some ways that I can help. So then you just had something that was like our mundane going to the store to pick something up turn into this little existential aspect and looping it back around to your business and how you could potentially help with this whole thing. You can find a thread and connect it. It's just taking a little step back and saying, like, huh, how can I link these two? And it might take a little bit of exercise and thinking how do they connect, but it's looking beyond the obvious to say, like, oh, yeah, I can connect that if I wanted to.
Okay. So it is stopping, pausing, reframing because all right, if I'm walking through Target and being inundated by the back to school offerings, I usually pick up my pace to get through that section. It's like, I am not here for this.
Mm-hmm.
But if I pause, all right, school, learning, renewal, different season, then I can think of a connection to the clients I serve.
Right. And even that part of saying, like, oh, I went into Target and I'm inundated with all this stuff, that's not what I'm here for. That could be its own lesson of like, where are you hearing all this noise in other places? And how can you then focus on yourself and say, I know what I need to focus on. Let me just go in and go out and not get trapped in the Target. Like, Target tells you what you need. It's like, I know what I need. I'm going in to get what I need and out and not being distracted by the outside stuff. See, like you made all of these things and you made something was mundane and boring as a Target run into this whole bigger, bigger than life, bigger than everything else connection. Everything is connected.
All right, so let's see. Let's explore even more what that means, though. So everything is connected. Being a human, everything is connected to your authenticity.
Yes.
Okay. And then informed by what you are working on to accomplish. So, sticking with Target, instead of just a mundane error and a mundane errand,
Mm-hmm.
if you say, all right, yeah, I'm a human in Target. And all right, although Target tries really hard, and it sounds like we're picking on Target, but no, we're not.
Target's great.
Target is great. And the meme is funny for a reason. Everyone goes into Target for one thing and then a shopping basket later. So yeah, Target is good at helping us, uh, but reframing the mundane into, all right, I provide this service to my clients. I'm seeing back to school. What can I teach my clients? What can I learn from? So just incorporating those sorts of questions into the mundane to reframe it and repurpose it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it could be as simple as I'm like Target. You come in looking for this one thing and you leave out with so much more. You got what you initially needed, plus stuff that you didn't even know that you needed. There you go.
Absolutely. And, hey, back to school uh, from Terrence, because summer is ending, but yeah. So you're getting people to rethink and agree with you. And hey, who doesn't love Target?
It's great. It's a great store. This show is not, in fact, sponsored by Target,
Wait a second. What?
although it could be. It
Target?
should be.
Target. We are available for sponsorship.
We are, in
This
fact.
this show is sponsored in part by the fine folk at Target for all of your back to school shopping needs. No?
We're
Okay.
just going to manifest that.
Well, absolutely. All right. So, but how does that apply? Can we extend that further? So, I mean, do we just make this a habit as we
Yeah.
go through?
Yeah, it's like anything else. It's a muscle, it's a skill that you have to go through and practice. I was talking with someone not too long ago, and they were just saying like, in the things that I do on a day to day, like it's pretty boring. It's like it's not like I'm doing much. And I know people always want to say like, okay, well, infuse more of yourself in the things that you're doing. And they were just like, I'm not doing much. Oh, okay, well, like you need to think of the things that you are doing as something that is worth interesting. So maybe it's like I make my coffee like this. Some people might think it's weird, or maybe some people are just like, "Ooh, that's very interesting. I didn't know that other people poured it in such a specific way or use this type of milk." Anything that could be boring to you could be very fascinating to someone else. It's like, "Oh, I drink this drink every morning." Someone was like, "Oh, what is that? I never heard of that brand. Is it worth being interested in?" It's just getting out of the mindset of like the things that I do are boring. Because even if they are, it might be like the kind of boring that connects with someone else.
So there's meaning in the mundane.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we just have to exercise that muscle so that we
Mhm.
can reframe, embrace our humanity, and connect that to what we do.
Yeah. So most of the time, people these days are saying like, okay, in your marketing and everything, you need to humanize, you need to be authentic, and they're just like, cool, check. And how do I do that? And that's what we're talking about right here: the mundane, the everyday, the things that connect us all as humans, and then tying it all back, finding that thread to the greater picture, or even to your business, what you're doing, because you're just like, okay, how do I know how to talk about what it is that I do. That's fine. Or I can do it better, sure. But like I have that part. I have an understanding of that. But it's like talking about me in some type of way. Like I don't want to talk about me. That feels uncomfortable. Or it just seems like the things that I do are boring. I don't know how to use that in any strategic way. It's thinking about like the little things that you do and how you can think about it and reframe it in a way that's like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I can think about this in this bigger sense of things. I never thought about it that way. I was just very set in the thought of like, it's boring and no one wants to hear about that.
That's true. And it seems we are gaining comfort in being human in public.
We were always being human in public. We were uncomfortable of putting it front forward on social media how human we are. Because we were doing it out in life all the time, but we were just under the assumption that no one was really looking and paying attention or watching us.
That's true. And now there's been a shift in general in the comfort of showing or showcasing your humanity, your authentic self. Growing up, my parents would not have imagined a time when you could have a sleeve of tattoos, an array of piercings, and work in corporate America. But that's the world we live in right now. Everyone is encouraged, so to speak, to bring their full humanity to wherever they are, express themselves.
They're encouraged. And then there are still a lot of places where it's uncomfortable to do that, or things are being said and you're just like, oh, but are you really inviting that? And I think that's where people get hung up on, is that there's a lot of messaging and a lot of people saying like, hey, show up as yourself, but there's still that fear of this. Like in the past I've seen so much persecution or people being held back because they were showing up as themselves and they weren't accepting. So why do I want to take the risk of showing that to other people, where if I could just go back to what I know what the rules were and hide or do whatever was the standard, then I can still go far, not realizing that someone needs to take a step to show up. Because the more that other people do it, the more that gives yourself and others permission to go forward and do that. But there's still a lot of hang up of just like, first thought of us, I'm private, I don't want to share that, which is completely valid. And also I don't want to be the only one, or I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that thinks that and no one else is going to do that, or I'm weird for doing this. It's a whole lot of different things that come into play.
Yes, and see, all right, there's always an improv. There's always relevance to improv. Yes, and I think sometimes people get too hung up on there are still boundaries. There are still limits. Being authentic does not mean sharing everything everywhere. It means just being who you are and embracing your humanity.
Yes. And I think that if you are not in the practice of doing that, the instinct is to either not go far enough, or some people go too far, not knowing how to regulate where and what that line is.
True. And see, going back, I like the finding the meaning in the mundane, finding how that thread connects with who you are and what you do and what you can share or showcase.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be anything that's this big thing that it has to be of like, oh, I'm sharing my soul to everything. Just be a thought.
Wait, you don't have to bare your soul with every post?
I mean, if you want to, if that's your brand, but I mean, that's not my brand. I'm not.
Okay.
I don't care that much.
Well, all right. But from a branding and marketing perspective, if your company does X, there should be some congruity between the projection that your company is making, or you as your company are making, and who you are as an individual. Those things should be aligned, right?
it should not feel as if that's a split, completely different personality.
So, if how you speak, how you express yourself, that should be rather consistent.
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah,
It
this
should
is
it should be. It should be. Even let's say it's a very large, thousands of people organization. Everyone should be able to understand, like, oh, okay, well, this is the personality of that. I get that. Of course, variations of it. We're like, oh, yep, that's the voice of it. That's the personality of that. And everyone understands, like, oh, okay, this is how I speak as this brand. Now, the thing with people that are more individual, solo, small business, it's it's very much tied at the beginning to you as a person. And so swinging like all the way to the left, like it's one of those, everything of the brand is you, but you are not everything. What's that? Like everything in the cup is of the ocean, but all the ocean's not in the cup type of thing. Of yes, like that is part of you, your personality, your values and things, but it doesn't have to be everything of you. The same thing with your brand and how you're showing up. All of that can be you, but it doesn't have to be all of you. The things
okay.
that you choose to have front and forward, because you can have all of your values as a person and all of your values as your business, and they don't exactly have to be the exact same listing of like the 5 things, but all of them should feel as if, oh, those are natural offshoots of that. Yep. Because I know this person, I must know what something that their business stands for, because I know this person. And so something is like, oh, they stand for this, but the thing that they're doing, it doesn't even line up in the slightest. And you're just like, that doesn't make sense. So is this thing over here like the real you and your values, or is you as the person, is that like what's the real thing? That's where I think people get mixed up, where it should mesh. It should be like, oh, that's a perfect, natural, great blending of it. Not that everything has to be exactly perfect the same, but everything is like, oh, that's harmonious. That tracks. That
Okay.
sounds like something that they would do.
Okay. And then with whether it is a solopreneur or an enterprise, or the corporate voice should be consistent across the corporation. So you can't have one department saying one thing in one voice and a different department uh, saying something, acting completely differently.
Unless that is your brand, where you know that just like your brand is like, this is like, here are all the many personalities of our thing. Our accounting department is like very by the numbers, whereas our marketing people are artists and our sales people are this. And if that's part of your brand, that all of the things have their own personality. If that's not the case of how you're branding yourself and your business, yeah, everyone should be pretty much in the same vibe, or at least like family members of like, yeah, every individual thing has their own little personality, but as a family unit, you know what they stand for.
Okay. And are there brands that do it really well that you can use as an example?
As far as so there's ones as far as personality online. There's always the actually let me do something that was weird. So not too long ago, Radio Shack came back, but now as like a crypto. They were being weird. It was weird because at first everyone kind of has like the 80s nostalgic of like, oh yeah, Radio Shack in the heyday. Now they're coming back as a new crypto platform. I think actually I'm not even sure, but they went off the rails. Honestly, they were trying to be super super edgy, and everyone honestly was confused about that. Like I don't even know what their values are. I'm actually not even sure what they do anymore. Are they not an electronics thing? That their messaging caused confusion. Go back and look up their tweets. Yeah, it was weird overall. As opposed to, let's say, if you follow on TikTok the Washington Post, their approach to news on there is relatable, millennial, Gen Z relatable. It's like, oh yes, I understand. I can speak through memes through the news, and it's a very good way of connecting and a voice of saying, like, yes, the news is serious, but like we can also make fun of and give light, bring lightness to that. Also, check out Duolingo. They always do a very interesting job of connecting that way. Wendy's on social media is always really funny, really interesting, really snarky. Just really good examples of like personality showing through, but like staying in their lane, their
Okay.
brand, their consistency.
I like that. Now, one I'm curious about your opinion on, Ben and Jerry's. So on
Mm-hmm.
social media, they are very socially conscious, socially aware.
Yes.
Uh,
Great
did
example.
all right, so that matches with the brand of Ben and Jerry's.
So realizing that Ben and Jerry's was bought up by what's their, I can't remember their
Unilever.
parent. Yeah, I want to say, yeah, I thought it was Unilever. But at the same time, the initial founders were just like, but we're still maintaining our overall position. So all, as I was talking about before, like, oh, like the Unilever family believes this. But they were just like, but us has been in Jerry's. Like whatever this part of the family does, like this is what we stand for. You guys go do whatever the rest that it is that you want. But we're doing this and these are our values and this is how we're communicating this, regardless of whatever else the main group of family is doing, which I think is very, very good, very interesting. Good
So
perspective.
in a large multinational corporation, a global conglomeration, a voice can still stand out. Hey, yeah, we're the weird ones over here, and this is what we do. And if you like our kind of weirdness, yeah, here you are.
It's always a weird one in the family. It's
Just
always the
one,
one.
just one, huh?
Usually one, at least.
At least one. Okay.
At least.
Well,
At
see,
least.
I've met my family. There might be more than one dozen.
You would know.
That's true. But that I like that that umbrella that you gave. So the large Unilever can be one way, and hey, or Unilever can cover a whole host of things. But people still know Ben and Jerry's for their particular brand, and their brand is consistent in their posting, much like Wendy's and others. All right, now with the clients that you work with, those are who do you work with?
Most of the clients that I work with, they are within the first year or two of their business, and they're primarily women of color that are either providing, I have wide range. I have people that were in the craft space, I had business consultants, I had marketing consultants, travel agents. But the thing that they have in common is that they are very good at the things that they do, but marketing was never a skill set that they thought that they ever needed to perfect. And combining the facts of the things that they know in business and infusing themselves in that, they always find it difficult. And what I typically do is help them pull out their own stories so that we can figure out a way to infuse that into their overall marketing and their messaging.
Is it often the case that people are too close? It's like, oh, no one, going back to your example, no one wants to know how I get my coffee. I mean, yeah, sure, it's this meticulous process of 32 steps, and my coffee requires that because, well, coffee is going to make it possible for me to get through the day. But no one cares about that.
Exactly. That's exactly what happens. And just the other day I was working with a client and she was saying, I don't even know how to put my stories together. I don't even know where to start. And the first thing that we did is I just had her to brain dump all of her story, just like winding conversation. And I took notes. And I at a certain point said, you realize what you just said right here? Like one thing was like a half a sentence was like super interesting. And I'm just like, I think we're going to need to go a little bit deeper on that one sentence that you just kind of blipped over. And that's what's super helpful of sometimes you don't even realize what parts of your own story are interesting or is worth more than a half a sentence, like an aside. That's what it usually happens to be. It's an aside, like, oh, yeah, so after I went to Africa to volunteer for 3 weeks, I did this. And you're just like, you did what now? Tell us about that. How did you get into that? And it was literally just like a transitional phrase in a sentence. You're just like, no, like, stop, back up. And a lot of times people don't realize what those things are and how to pull them out to make it flesh out that story and then take that story and intertwine that into their own marketing and their messaging and using that as a way to connect with people.
So listening with the ear of a marketer.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay. Now, so then I don't need to be the marketing person.
No.
I just need to be able to share my story with a marketing person so that I can help get that out. Okay.
Help get it out and then teach you how to start thinking and looking at things in that way.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the meaning in the mundane and making that message resonate with a particular audience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Knowing who your people are, what they would understand, like, oh, yeah, that would be valuable. I want to know more about that. Being able to pick those things out.
And eliminating the confusion. So I heard someone else mention confusion means that's not going to be a buy. That's not going to be a sale. That's not going to be a customer. They'll just keep going because there's confusion.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. If you're not sure how something is exactly going to work out for you, then you can't picture or imagine yourself that it's working. So if you can't imagine it working for you because you're confused of how it would work, then you're going to go on to the next thing. You're just like, oh, yeah, I can picture myself, or I see myself in that. I can see how it could be helpful, beneficial to me. So I'll get it.
And so you help identify or remove that confusion by helping people uncover the clarity in their message. Well,
Exactly.
oh, you think that's mundane. Here's the relevance, and here's how you can connect that to your customers.
Right. It's like you had a whole bunch of stuff in your hand and you don't know what's a pebble and what's a piece of gold. And you're just like, I just see a bunch of little rocks all over the place. I don't know which one's which. So I'll help you sift through, like, oh, okay, well, like that pebble could actually be useful for something else. So let's put it over here. And this piece of gold, yeah, that's going to be really helpful. So let's put it over here. And this dirt clump, yeah, we don't need that at all. We can shove that over to the side. Like finding out what pieces are of a lot of value, what things are like, oh, maybe that can be useful later. And things are just like, no, just like shuffle that over. Not necessary. That's going to be distracting.
Okay. So what is the most fun part of your job?
Watching when things click for people, specifically when they realize, like, oh, like when they realize something that they were always doing, realizing like why it was working. Because that's one of the big things that I see all the time. People are doing something and they want to completely scrap everything because they don't understand if it's working, how it's working. And I'm just like, no, like actually this one part is working. And when you break down actually why that's working, and you do more of it and add on and expand, and their face when they're just like, oh, that's why people, okay, yes, okay, I'll do more of that. And people usually don't realize like a lot of the things that you're doing, it might be working, but you're just not utilizing it in the way that you could be. And if you understand why that works and then maybe double down on some of the things you're already doing, it's going to make all the difference.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure you will. This is it now 2 years that you've been an entrepreneur?
Oof. Okay. Well, I guess that depends on how you do math. So it's been 1 year since I've been full time as an entrepreneur at this point. I want to say officially, I filed my LLC in 2019, like this time in 2019. Was I like fully doing business stuff then? No. No, it was more of idea floating around with official legal entity status. So I'm going to count this as like my 1 year anniversary, although I was doing stuff in 2020.
Well, then, happy anniversary to D.R. Harris Consulting.
Thank you very much.
What has been the most surprising thing in the 1 year anniversary or since that 1 year?
Mm. That I know how to come up with a pretty good plan. So beforehand, I was just like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to plan this all together? And you always want to outthink and outsmart any pitfalls or downfalls. You're just like, no, I can outthink and outmaneuver everything because you want the least amount of pain possible for anything, and realizing that you can't truly outrun and out plan any downfalls or missteps, but you can overall trust the general direction. And that's at the end of 1 year, I said, okay, although I did freak out or have some concerns in general, like I picked a really good plan and a route to go through. And so I'm very, very proud of that. And as far as everything else, I've just been realizing that I just need to be open to learning and doing. And the more you do, the more you learn. So just keep doing stuff, and not from an energy of like I'm being frantic, this has to work, but it's just like, oh, I wonder if this will work. I wonder this will be fun to do. Let's see if anything comes to that. And going from that energy, it's a lot more fun. And you're able to just be like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do more of that. Or like that was fun for today, but let's try something else. That's been really interesting.
So it doesn't have to be the classic scene out of a horror movie where, you know, these fears and things are walking up on you very slowly as you pinwheel back and fall. And, well, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be.
So it could be
It
something more
might be for some, but it doesn't have to be.
it could be more like the Matrix, where you see these and they go by and you are unharmed and focused still on the journey ahead.
Yes, because you're the one.
There you go. There you go. And all right, see, I know that you are a uh, pop culture person.
Hmm.
Uh, have you seen any movies lately?
I just saw Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm a little late to that, but
And
it was Everything Everywhere all at once. There was a lot of comparison of that to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and I will agree with the critics of saying like Everything Everywhere All at Once was absolutely truly defined as a multiverse of madness and very well executed in that sense. It is weird though. Like it is absolutely weird, but in the best possible way. Like there were, to me, like I saw parallels and aspects to the Matrix, and that I saw a little bit of Kill Bill vibes in it. Um, yeah, it was just good. It was just overall good. Good martial arts, good writing,
so you
good
recommend it?
story. Um, Yes and no. I recommend it to people that are into things that are just like, oh yeah, that was kind of weird and trippy. I liked it. If you're just wanted like a sit back and kind of like enjoy and let it happen to you, you're gonna sit there like, what am I watching? Why am I watching this? Yeah, I'm gonna stop watching this.
Okay. And see, I'm in the category of it's been on my list and I haven't made it out to see it yet, but I will.
Well, it's on. You can rent it on like iTunes or wherever else
Okay.
you purchase movies. So $5.99. It's
Are
it's 2.5 hours. So
available where fine movies are sold. Uh,
wherever you legally stream your movies,
and that is from the
legally,
legal department.
legally stream your movies.
We are not responsible for any movies streamed illegally. Those are on your own accord, and you shall suffer repercussions accordingly.
I don't endorse that. Pay artist.
Exactly. Pay artists always. All right. So, any So, as someone who is constantly learning, as you just mentioned, what books are you reading? What's the last book that you read that you would recommend?
Let's see. Let me go to Audible because that's where I've been listening more so than anything. What was the last thing that I listened to? So I'm currently going through Change Your Questions, Change Your Life by Marlene Adams, and it's about question thinking. And yeah, it's more of like a mental reframe of, are you asking questions that are helpful, or are you asking questions that are unproductive and putting people down and putting you in a negative mindset about things? It's basically a storytelling of a coach and a consultant, and the journey that they take of changing the way that they ask questions to get the results that they want. If you ask better questions, you'll get better results. If your questions are bad, vague, non specific, then the answer that you get will be the same.
Okay, I am placing that in the chat so that I can add it to my list, and so can others.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So, and is there one more book recommendation?
I also just finished Influencer by Brittany Hennessy. And that is a book about, although it's marketed as people that want to be influencers, it's really a good book about how to leverage partnerships and making yourself more available on the online space to collaborations and working with brands, and how to set yourself up for success in the online space. And yeah, it's a quick listen on Audible.
And that is Influencer by Brittany uh,
Hennessy.
Hennessy. Okay, and that is also in the chat. Um, I will put those on my reading list, which is ever expanding, which is as it should be.
Yes, you just gotta make time for it. I'm rereading Atomic Habits again. It's about that time.
You know, it is. And that's one of, for me, that is one of those. It is a uh, always relevant reread because there's
Hmm.
always something new in it.
Yeah, when you're in one state of life, something is going to pop out at you, and when you're in a completely different state, something else will get at you. So that's on my reread list right now.
Atomic Habits by James Clear. And yeah, that is, yeah, I will listen to that one again and gain some new insights because, yeah, where we are today is different than where we were 18 months ago, 2 years ago. We should be growing. Our current comfort zone should be larger than what it was years ago.
Trying to work on the 1% rule, which you can learn more about. I think jamesclear.com. He has it. The first couple chapters of Atomic Habits. Again, this podcast is not sponsored by James Clear either, although it should be.
Yet,
It
James
should be.
Clear's Atomic Habits are available on wherever your bookseller or audio program is located.
He also has a very handy notebook. It's called his habit. It's called the Clear Habit Journal. This is my second one.
Very nice.
Again, not sponsored yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Now, giveaways though, that was a transition. So if people want to get in touch with you, uh, are you open to connections? And is there a resource you have available for those that listened, watched the replay or live today?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm open to connections right now. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can also find me very active on Instagram. My handle is d.r.harrisconsulting. And I have a free guide that if you're interested in how you can make your messaging for your business clear and attractive to your ideal clients, I have a free guide that you can download that will help you get all your things together and straight.
Well, that is just a wonderful thing. And wait, but you said free?
It's completely free.
I don't get a commission?
No.
Okay. But everyone can benefit. So I encourage people to download it. And let me see. Let me pull up your LinkedIn profile so I can share that. And what is next for you over this coming year? You got, this is an anniversary. What's planned for the next one?
For the second
Yeah.
anniversary?
What's going to happen
Oof.
by the second?
Look, honestly, let's finish up the year.
Let's not
No,
get too far ahead of ourselves.
it's one of those, like, yes, like you have a plan, but sometimes you gotta focus on what's right ahead of you and see the things that are further down the line work. Do I have a plan? Yes. Do I imagine myself being someplace? Yes. As far as things looking very different from the outside, maybe not so much, but I think it's going to be more of like a philosophical, like interesting, better place. And of course, there's always the like, are you going to start a podcast? I will one of these days. I always say like third quarter, and then I'm like, this third quarter right now. I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe it's like the next third quarter.
You have until October 1st.
Yeah, that's not going to happen by October 1st.
Well, again, I wish you congratulations on this 1-year anniversary, as does Ophelia.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you for this conversation. It is always a pleasure. Danielle's contact information is in the chat. Be sure to connect with her. Make it a personalized invite. Mention this program, something that you learned, something that you're going to go forward and take with you, reframing the mundane to the meaningful, for instance. So again, thank you.
Thank you guys. And thank you for inviting me. It's always fun.
Interested in learning more about any of the items that you've seen in today's session? Leave a comment below. Interested in being a guest? Leave a comment below. I help event planners and organizers produce virtual events. Learn how I can support your virtual event by connecting or leaving a comment. Thanks for watching.